How's it going, folks? You're very welcome to today's class. We are on a brand new topic today. We are looking at peatlands. Okay, in your house at winter time, I bet you your parents use board and ammonia briquettes or peat or some form of fuel like that on your fire. Okay, and we're going to look at where that peat comes from. Okay, in Ireland. And that peat comes from bogs. In Dunshaughlin, we have a local example of a bog on the Dunshaughlin, the Screen Bog Road there. Okay, but the place where you'll find the most bogs in Ireland is kind of around the Midlands and in the west of Ireland. So if we look at the map in front of you here, guys, you can see lots of bogs in the northwest, west, and southwest, and lots of bogs in the Midlands. Okay. Now, bogs are non-renewable. Okay, they're a non-renewable resource. When you harvest peat from a bog, it takes millions of years to replenish. Okay, so that's classified as non-renewable. It cannot be used again. And there are two main types of bogs in Ireland. We have number one, raised bogs, and number two, blanket bogs. And you'll find most raised bogs in the Midlands. So if you look at the map there, guys, the raised bogs are the light brown covered areas there, okay? And raised bogs are found generally on kind of flat or sloping lowlands. They're found in the Midlands. They form in shallow depressions and are usually quite deep at about 8 to 12 metres, okay? And there are bogs in County Meath. There's another proper big bog in Ballivor that's used by Board and Ammonia to harvest peat from, okay? The second type of bog we use is a blanket bog. And a blanket bog was found on a mountain. Blanket bogs are formed when there's lots of rainfall. And guys, there's more rainfall. The west of Ireland has nearly twice the rainfall that the Midlands and the east does. So as a result, there's lots of blanket bogs, okay, in the west of Ireland. And these are a bit shallower with an average depth of about 3 metres, okay? Now, just so we can, a clever way so we can tell these apart, blanket bogs are found up high on mountain slopes. And if you're on a mountain and you climb a mountain, it gets very cold, so you might need to put a blanket around yourself. Hence why blanket bogs are on top of mountains, okay? That's just a quick, simple way of remembering the bogs, okay? Now, how does peat in a bog form? Okay, well, peat is composed of basically partially decayed plant litter. Okay, so that means like when dead plants they die, they decay, they break down, and they break down into plant litter, which can be used to form bogs. Okay, there are 4 other conditions needed. Okay, for peat to form. Okay, the first condition is growth of vegetation. Vegetation just means plants. And why do we need plants for peat to form? Well, we need plants for peat to form because, as we know, when plants die, they break themselves down into plant litter. Okay, and that's a key ingredient in forming peat. Second thing we need is high levels of rainfall. So the reason why there's lots of bogs in the west of Ireland, in particular lots of blanket bogs, is because they get lots of rainfall there. And over the year, like this is over maybe thousands of years, all the rainfall can cause the soil to turn into a bog. Okay, our third condition we need is poor drainage. So an area that's got poorly drained soils and got no drainage ditches is more likely to become peaty and form peat and turn into a bog. Okay. Also, the final condition is there needs to be a very low oxygen level in the waterlogged soil. Okay. So to recap, we need vegetation. You need lots and lots of rainfall. We get loads of this in the west of Ireland. We need poor drainage, so the water has nowhere to run off, so the soil becomes waterlogged. And we need little or no oxygen. And when these four conditions combine, they'll form peat. Now again, guys, this takes thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. Okay, so don't go into your back garden and kill a plant and pour a bucket of water on it and take oxygen away somehow and to expect peat to form. It takes a long, long time for peat to form. Okay, now when peat has formed, it can be very useful to us. Okay, in particular, as we know, it can be used to fuel our homes. And a lot of your grandparents, for example, if you ask your grandparents, they probably used turf from a bog when they were younger to heat their homes. Okay, in fact, in a lot of old schools in Ireland, in going back 50 years, kids used to have to bring in with them a sod of turf to put it on the stove in the classroom, and that stove would burn and heat up the classroom, okay, because the classrooms had no radiators. Now, So peat has to be, guys. Peat is like, this is like it's a primary activity, the same kind of activity that farming is. Like peat has to be harvested and farmed, okay? The reason why it's farmed is because, as we know, it's so useful. It's ideal. It's an ideal source of fuel, a cheap source of fuel that can be used to heat the home, okay? Now, the main company in charge of harvesting peat in Ireland are called Borden and Mona, okay? If you look at the picture on the bottom right, guys, you might be able to recognise those little things there. Those are Borden and Mona briquettes. And those briquettes are made up of peat that's been compressed together into blocks. And now those briquettes then are used to fuel the fires in people's homes, okay? We're going to look at the 7 stages from harvesting peat to the formation of Borden and Mona briquettes, okay? So the first step, okay, is a ditcher digs a drain so water can flow off the bog, okay? So we obviously know that bogs are very waterlogged, okay? But before you go and harvest the peat, you have to try and dry the bog, get rid of the water, okay? Because otherwise you can't drive machinery on it, okay? So a ditcher digs like a drain, basically a small ditch or trench, and this means water can flow off the bog, okay? Step number 2. A grader is used to level the surface of the bog. So guys, look at that machine there. It's got big wide tracks and it's got a wide kind of shovel at the front, and this drives over the bog to basically flatten it. Okay. Step number 3, a miller cuts a thin layer from the surface of the bog. So it's like a small little harrow being pulled by that tractor, and that cuts a really thin layer, a couple of inches thick from the bog. Okay. Step number 4, a spoon harrow then turns the milled peat so it can dry. So guys, this layer that's been cut, this gets turned over. So why is it turned over? Well, after it's been cut, it'll dry out, and then the spoon harrow in step 4 turns it over so the other side can dry out, okay? Step 5, a ridger comes along and piles the peat into ridges, okay? So it basically piles the peat up into ridges, and these ridges make it easier for the harvester to come along and collect it up. And here we go, step 6, the harvester. So a harvester comes along and gathers up the milled peat for processing, okay? So the harvester collects up the peat and dumps it into a trailer. And then this peat gets sent to a Borden and Mona factory, okay? For example, step 7. So the step 7 is the peat has now been harvested. It's now in the factory. The harvested peat is compressed into briquettes for sale, okay? So the special process takes place where these briquettes get broken down and compressed into them briquettes you see in front of you for sale, okay? And the ESB, it's not only used in our homes, but the ESB also use those Borden and Mona briquettes for generating electricity in their power stations.